The new tax plan to tax bread and milk, as proposed by Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u, has thrown this country into a big dilemma on whether exactly Kenya Kwanza still abides or rather conforms with the bottom-up economic agenda, or the quest to increase the tax basket has actually overrode that need, or rather that economic model. And Nation today wrote this article, and I just read the contents of this. The new tax plan to tax bread and milk. And I want to show you what the argument is about. Bread and milk, food for the rich. That is what the concept bearers are saying. The cost of breakfast for millions of Kenyan households that consume bread and tea as their first meal of the day is set to rise in the next 3 months if the new tax measures proposed by Treasury sail through Parliament. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u wants 16% VAT imposed on 2 products he says are mostly consumed by affluent Kenyans. Before I proceed, I want to ask this question, and especially for those who understand economics or other consumption patterns in this country. Is it true that bread and milk is a luxury? Is it true? Because, to the best of my knowledge, even those staying in slums, bread is sold in kiosks in slums. Bread is sold in supermarket. Milk is sold in the smallest units as little as 25 shillings. So if you say that milk is for affluent Kenyans, maybe we don't understand. And sometimes when this story came through, I followed the interview today by Trevor Mbija in Citizen. So Trevor Mbija was hosting 3 politicians. One is Edwin Sifuna, Owen Baya. Edwin Sifuna is minority leader in the Senate. Owen Baya, the deputy majority leader in the Senate, and Mukurueni MP, who also chairs agricultural, who is also a member of agricultural committee, coming from Mount Kenya. And the understanding on how the impact of VAT, because in principle of taxation there is something called benefit, or rather the impact, benefit vis-a-vis the impact. There is a question of how this 16% VAT is being done, because initially it was being given to, it was on farm produce, so producers of wheat were the people that were benefiting. Now apparently there is an explanation that I want you to hear from Owen Baya, whether this really makes some sense.
And not actually consumers, because at the end of the day, when you sell, when you buy wheat and the products that make bread, the producers of this will be refunded huge. Actually, it says that 95% of tax refunds actually go to producers of milk and bread. Okay. So what does that tell you? It tells you in the process of trading in bread, the person that makes more money is the producer. You know, he gets tax refunds, huge tax refunds, but the consumer bears that need. But what Njuguna Ndung'u is saying, supposing therefore we tax 16% of both for milk and bread, but at the end of the day, with the e-teams that is being touted, then you can take your receipts from the supermarket and go and get your tax refunds for the bread instead of the tax refund being given to the producers. So you also need to look at the balance. When it comes to zero rating products, there is a process. A lot of zero rating means therefore that the producer makes money more than the consumer, at the expense of the consumer.
Okay.
So probably what Njuguna Ndung'u is saying, why don't we shift so that the tax refund is not to the producer, but it is to the consumer? So these are thoughts that are being explored. Is it possible to do that? Of course, there are things that I look at and say, okay, the person who buys bread from a supermarket will have a tax receipt and e-tax receipt and will be able to be refunded probably if it comes to that level. But suppose, what about the person who buys bread from a kiosk?
So, if there's going to be a tax refund, they are trying to insinuate, is it even applicable that after buying bread and milk in the supermarket, you'll have that receipt, and that's why you'll see the tax, then you will seek refund. How many Kenyans are buying bread per day? If you look at the number of consumers and the number of producers of wheat, which one is even more applicable? Is it even possible? Number two, with the level of literacy level in the country, someone staying in the middle of Tsekuru running a kiosk, those who will buy these things in kiosks, will they be able to manage these refunds? Will refunds be given to producers, to consumers, or this is just another interesting spin? And I found it absurd. If it's going to increase the cost of this commodity, then if you have a way in which it was managing the community behind the scene, then that should be the best route, instead of saying that we will go for tax refunds. How? I'm wondering how our old grannies in the village will even demand those tax refunds. I'm not just getting it. Will you be queuing in KRA website seeking that? There is that first contradiction on that 16% VAT on this project. Number two is this statement that bread and milk is consumed by middle class. That's a second contradiction, because to me it's untrue. And I think Sifuna packaged it well to see really whether it is true that it is a household commodity that is only consumed by affluent Kenyans. And they're trying to evade the question of, is it going to affect the hustler?
Ruto's opponent 2027. Ruto's opponent in 2027 are not in the leadership. They are in those people you lied to about creating jobs. They are the people in this middle class that you have imposed all. Let me finish. Let me finish. You will speak.
It's 2 against 1.
You will speak. Those people you have levied SHIF,
Yep.
those people you have added VAT on fuel to, all those people that you want to pay housing levy, those are the biggest opponents of the Kenya Kwanza administration in 2027. Any person, any Kenyan will beat Ruto. Because in 2027, these Kenyans who are talking to us are telling us they're not going to look for a clever mouth. They're not looking for the smartest politician. They're not looking for the one with the most money. They are looking for somebody with empathy, that you can actually listen to the people. If the avocado farmers are telling you that our industry now, the one tree that I have, there is no justification for you to levy this tax on me, you should be able to listen to them.
I think he's really got it. He's really got it in terms of whether it's going to affect the hustlers or not. The question of this taxation principle, or whether this tax is going to affect the affluent Kenyans, is not something you can wish away. Because in real sense, those who buy milk and bread, milk and bread is sold in slums of Kibera. It is sold in the slums of every slum in this country. It is sold in every part of this country. Milk is not a luxury, unless we don't understand the meaning of a luxury. Milk is not a luxury. But there is this understanding, and I'm waiting for the president to go to public rallies and tell people in those rallies that tumeamua kuongeza bei ya mafuta, bei ya maziwa na mkate kwa sababu ni vitu ambavyo vinatumiwa na wadosi. I don't know. In schools, milk is used, breakfast, lunch. Our children consume milk, tea in school. Unless you're saying we want to control consumption of milk. Now, the other third contradiction is also noted. In taxation, there is a principle of fairness or neutrality. Kaguchia was asked, both Kaguchia and Owenbaya were asked a question. If this bill is presented in Parliament today, will you vote yes or no? And it was all blah, 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 blah. It was all just the spin and twisting about it. There was no clear answer on that. But I listened to Kaguchia, and Mount Kenya farmers should listen to this second part. He's saying, what is wrong with government asking for some small money from taxpayers, especially farmers, if they've been given free subsidized fertilizer, roads, markets?
And then you're going to sell it at a 60 shillings more than what you sold before. Mm-hmm. What problem will a farmer have with paying a little money back to government to support the subsidy program that was done, to support the infrastructural arrangement that was done? And I mean, the farmer will have no problem. And that is exactly what is happening. If you look, for example, at the coffee reforms that have happened around the coffee sector, you find that now farmers are going to be reaping much more than they did before, per kilo of their coffee.
All right.
If that farmer is asked to part with a few cents to be able to support that program, I am telling you, because what is remaining in the pocket of the farmer is much more than what they were having before, that farmer will happily be able to support that program. I mean, we can't continue demonizing.
Yes.
We can't continue demonizing. What is the last comment?
Yeah.
We cannot continue demonizing taxation.
Okay.
We cannot continue demonizing contribution of public to the same structures that are going to support them. Are you getting? And claim to be honest.
Okay.
In fact, we are not only dishonest, but we are also extremely hypocritical.
Okay. 1 minute. So that
let me tell you,
taxation
because this is the evidence
else.
that Kaguchia did not consider the sugar bill.
Yeah.
I spoke about industrial sugar. There is no single factory in Kenya that produces white industrial sugar. I'm not talking about table sugar. And you have spoken like somebody who did not read the bill. So the industrial
No. You can't say I did not read it.
I have listened to you.
I have listened to you. You see.
I have listened to you.
But Trevor, you have listened to me. But I cannot also allow Sifuna to belittle. Are you getting? You can't also allow him to belittle our point.
You are here.
You see, the process in which we are producing. But no, I will respond.
Yes,
but also, you don't belittle my point.
You will respond.
I get it. But as he is also making his point, we can't also allow belittling, because the process in which we are producing the table sugar is a process in which we are producing the industrial sugar. Are you getting?
So let him say what he's saying.
I am not the one making your points little. They are little points. I am telling you, my brother, that I spoke about industrial sugar. Industrial sugar is the one that is.
Trevor, let us agree on this. No, but let us agree on this, Trevor. We are live on show. My brother Sifuna, you can't make it a point of belittling other members of parliament. Are you getting? Because,
are you done?
It's good to also be respectful.
Okay.
Are you getting to each
Agreed.
other as we debate?
Are you done?
Are you getting?
Are you done?
Because we don't come here for insults.
Okay.
We don't come here for insults, and we don't come here with small points.
Okay.
Like my brother.
Fine.
But
are you getting?
Let him explain.
And having a big head doesn't mean that you have a big point.
That's fine.
Are you getting?
But the point.
Explain.
If a point is little, everybody can see it's a little point. It's not me belittling it, Kaguchia. I spoke about industrial sugar. Do you know the distinction between white industrial sugar and sugar? That's the point I'm making. Because if you read the bill, you would not have imposed 4% on industrial sugar that is not produced anywhere in this country, that is used in industry. I would understand if you impose an importation tax on sugar, table sugar, because
but he's also ignorant. He's also ignorant of the industry that is being set up now to produce that industrial sugar.
Let him finish. Then I'll have Owen Baya as well. Yes. Go ahead.
You know, you're displaying ignorance.
That's what I'm telling you.
You're displaying ignorance.
You will get your opportunity. You will get your opportunity to be able to highlight my ignorance. After I'm finished exposing your littleness, you will expose my hypocrisy or my ignorance.
It's already
I am
clear
telling you
that you're ignorant about the plans that the government is splitting.
Don't heckle Kagutia.
Are you getting?
Just relax.
Yeah.
Just relax. Where to Leah too? I am saying you passed a law without considering it. And it's not the only law. It's many laws. You are telling us stories here about coffee or nini. I asked a very simple question. Did you consider the sugar bill and its implications on industry and the prices of things that it is a key ingredient in, including bread? In my view, you did not consider it, because at the Senate, we are going to propose certain amendments, Trevor, to exempt that tax until local industry has the capacity to produce white industrial sugar. You understand what I'm saying? So when I tell you that you did not consider the bill, you are showing it here that you actually did not consider the bill. And members of parliament are required to read and understand what they are passing.
Now, we have a situation where taxation is not fair. A tax that is being implemented is not fair to all, in the sense that there is one that has been introduced for the farmer. We have avocado tax. How about some other person who is just growing it for subsistence? You know? So is it a privilege? Is it a guarantee that all that money coming from agriculture is being used to construct roads? Is it a guarantee? You know, it's a very casual reasoning that people should not complain because those taxes are the ones that are being used to do this and that. The question is not on usage, but on how government is raising revenue. Now, I want to interpret this, all this tax backlash, where the taxation has become a big backlash for Kenya Kwanza. I think in this, it's very true, and you give credit to Kenya Kwanza for having successfully floated a people and issue-based politics. That one we can't wish away. They successfully did issue-based politics. But in same equal measure, taxation has received biggest backlash from the population. And politicians ask, do the public know that taxation is one way of government raising revenue? Yes, they know. Why are they resisting? Then is it a question of a taxation? So I want to explain why that is a big backlash to them. But before that, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. Thank you very much for your support. We do this each and every day because of your support. And I continue saying thank you for sharing our videos. Continue subscribing. I know we are on road to 7,000 subscribers. I'm seeing three issues why, and these are three fixes, quick fixes that must be undertaken very fast to fix the tax backlash. Number one, the tax revenue increase. There is a tax revenue increase. As you increase tax, you are saying you want to increase revenue, even though it has not been directly proportional, because in fact it's been inverse. That as you increase the tax, people are even boycotting, and the revenue stream is even going down. But even with the tax increase, there is little correspondence in terms of service delivery. With service delivery, do you know, as we talk, doctors are on strike. Patients are being released from, discharged from hospitals, not because they're feeling well, but because the doctors are not in the hospitals. A country that has failed to pay doctors is increasing taxes, and there is a lot of emphasis on roads, school, computer, some physical things, because that is what the politician will point. But Ruto is in Kericho, is talking on top of the car, and I will talk about this later. People are unbothered about the health. Number two, the runaway corruption wipes away all that we collect. And the country has been treated to corruption right from they write the house on top of the hill to the ward office. So it's been, it's a chain of corruption, and the country has been fed up with this. And so people feel, even as you say we pay more taxes, but much of it is being looted. Lastly, what is also causing backlash is the taxation is hurting the downtrodden. Remember, the downtrodden, that is the hustler, is the person that was promised everything. And government bottom-up economic model was fashioned to be pro the downtrodden. Now you hide behind something that people who are well off are the ones that use milk and bread. But in real sense, you want to tax the hustlers. And I agree with what we realize, that if you want to know the true state of the economy, when the Treasury is giving a report to IMF, they say the truth. But when they talk to Kenyans, they don't say the truth. So much as some MPs were trying to defend and say, you know what, this is just still a proposal, it might not get through, but that's where it starts. And after it all, it will see the light of the day. You'll not be shocked to see it being taken to the parliament. Thank you.